In this podcast episode, Vivek Ramaswamy shares his insights on Donald Trump's significant electoral victory and its implications for the future of government bureaucracy. The conversation delves into various topics, including the reasons behind Trump's success, the state of the Democratic Party, and the potential for reforming the federal government. Ramaswamy begins by analyzing the political landscape leading up to Trump's victory, emphasizing that it represents a clear rejection of modern leftist ideologies. He argues that the electorate was fed up with the policies and narratives pushed by the left, which they perceived as detrimental to the nation's core values. This sentiment resonates particularly with voters who feel marginalized by the political elite, leading to a surge in support for Trump, who positioned himself as an outsider willing to challenge the status quo. He notes that Trump's appeal was not merely based on his policies, but also on his persona. Ramaswamy describes Trump as a badass who exudes confidence and conviction, qualities that many Americans find refreshing in a political leader. This personal connection, combined with a broader rejection of leftist policies, galvanizes a diverse coalition of voters, including a significant portion of the Latino electorate, which traditionally lean Democratic. Ramaswamy highlights the unique nature of Trump's leadership style, which he characterizes as non-ideological and pragmatic. Unlike many politicians who adhere strictly to party lines or ideological frameworks, Trump approaches governance with a focus on results rather than dogma. This approach allows him to connect with a wide range of voters who are more interested in practical solutions than in partisan rhetoric. The conversation also touches on the personal nature of Trump's political journey. Ramaswamy recounts his experiences with Trump during the campaign, noting that Trump viewed his victory as a fulfillment of destiny. This sense of purpose resonates with voters who are eager for a leader who believes in the potential of America and is willing to fight for it. The podcast delves into the immediate aftermath of the election, with Ramaswamy expressing his excitement about the results. He describes the atmosphere at Trump's victory celebration as electric, with supporters feeling a renewed sense of hope and purpose. Ramaswamy emphasizes that the election is not just a victory for Trump, but a victory for the American people who have long felt disenfranchised by the political establishment. He also points out that the election results signal a broader cultural shift in the country. Voters are no longer afraid to express their support for Trump, even in traditionally liberal areas. This newfound confidence among Trump supporters, including young people and minorities, indicates a significant change in the political landscape that can have lasting implications for future elections. Ramaswamy offers a candid assessment of the Democratic Party's current state, suggesting that it is at a crossroads. He argues that the party's reliance on identity politics and divisive rhetoric has alienated many voters, particularly those who were once loyal Democrats. The podcast highlights the need for the Democratic Party to reflect on its failures and consider a more inclusive approach to regain the trust of the electorate. He expresses hope that the Democratic Party can undergo a transformation, similar to what he envisioned for the Republican Party. Ramaswamy believes that if Democrats can acknowledge their shortcomings and adapt to the changing political landscape, they might find a path forward. However, he also warns that failure to do so could lead to their decline, as voters increasingly seek alternatives to the traditional two-party system. A significant portion of the discussion focuses on the role of bureaucracy in the federal government. Ramaswamy argues that the administrative state has grown too large and powerful, often operating outside the bounds of accountability. He emphasizes the need for a comprehensive overhaul of the bureaucracy to restore trust in government institutions and ensure that they serve the interests of the American people. Ramaswamy proposes a radical approach to reforming the federal government, suggesting that a mass reduction in the size of the bureaucracy is necessary. He believes that many federal employees are not only redundant, but also contribute to a culture of inefficiency and ineffectiveness. By streamlining government operations and eliminating unnecessary positions, Ramaswamy argues that the government can become more responsive to the needs of its citizens. The conversation also touches on the role of the Supreme Court in shaping the future of government bureaucracy. Ramaswamy notes that recent Supreme Court decisions have created a legal framework that can facilitate significant reforms in the administrative state. He highlights cases that have challenged the legitimacy of federal regulations and emphasizes the importance of restoring the principle that elected representatives should be the ones making laws. Ramaswamy expresses optimism that a Trump administration can leverage this legal landscape to enact meaningful changes. He argues that by nullifying unconstitutional regulations and reducing the size of the bureaucracy, the government can regain its focus on serving the American people rather than perpetuating its own existence. Throughout the podcast, Ramaswamy emphasizes the importance of self-governance as a fundamental principle of American democracy. He argues that the administrative state has undermined this principle by placing power in the hands of unelected bureaucrats who often act without accountability. Ramaswamy believes that restoring self-governance requires a concerted effort to dismantle the bureaucratic structures that had become entrenched in the federal government. He posits that a return to self-governance will empower citizens to take an active role in shaping their communities and holding their government accountable. By reducing the influence of the bureaucracy, Ramaswamy argues that Americans can reclaim their agency and ensure that their voices were heard in the political process. Ramaswamy addresses the issue of money in politics, particularly in the context of the recent election. He notes that while critics often decry the influence of wealthy donors, the reality is that significant financial resources are necessary to compete in modern elections. He argues that the Republican Party needs to embrace this reality and cultivate its own network of supporters who can help fund campaigns and initiatives. He points out that Elon Musk's endorsement of Trump had a profound impact on the political landscape, as it demonstrated that even the wealthiest individuals could align themselves with a candidate who represented their values. Ramaswamy believes that building a coalition of influential supporters is essential for the Republican Party to succeed in future elections and counter the financial advantages held by the Democratic Party. The podcast also explores the broader cultural shift occurring in America, particularly among younger voters. Ramaswamy notes that many young people are increasingly disillusioned with traditional political narratives and are seeking alternatives that resonate with their values. He argues that this shift presents an opportunity for the Republican Party to connect with a new generation of voters who are eager for change. Ramaswamy emphasizes the importance of addressing the concerns of these young voters, particularly on issues such as economic opportunity and social justice. He believes that by embracing a more inclusive and forward-thinking agenda, the Republican Party can attract a diverse coalition of supporters and position itself as a viable alternative to the Democratic Party. As the conversation draws to a close, Ramaswamy expresses his optimism for the future of American politics. He believes that the recent election results signal a turning point for the country, with the potential for meaningful reforms and a renewed sense of national identity. Ramaswamy argues that the key to success will be a commitment to self-governance, accountability, and a willingness to challenge the entrenched interests that have dominated the political landscape for too long. He concludes by reiterating the importance of unity among Americans who share a vision for a better future. Ramaswamy emphasizes that the path forward will require collaboration and a collective effort to restore trust in government institutions. By working together, he believes that Americans can create a brighter future for themselves and generations to come.